Welcome to class 13 of Indian Financial System. So in this class, we are going to study how do primary market raise the fund. The primary market enables the company, government and other institutions to raise funds through the sale of equity or the equity shares or the debt related securities. Public sector institution raises funds through bonds issue, or while the corporation raises the funds or capital through the issue of sale of new stock through initial public offering. Furthermore, the other ways to raise the fund in primary market is through your further public offer or follow on offer, or we call it as FPO, private placement, your preferential issue, qualified institutional placements, right issue, and bonus issue. These are the various types or methods how the company is going to raise the fund. So let's study the types of the issues which are made in the primary market. So the main issues are three: public issue, right issue, and private placement. So other than that also I'm going to explain you some other methods how the primary market is going to raise its fund in the primary market. Okay, then first is your public issue. So public issue is one of the most common method of issuing securities to public. The company enters in the capital market to raise the money from the kinds of investors. Okay, so here the securities are offered for sale to the new investors. The new investors becomes the shareholder of the issuing company. So this is called as public issue. So further classifications of public issue is your initial public offering or initial public offering, further public offers, or a follow on offer or a FPO. So these are the two things what are there. Okay, so public issue is nothing but a newly started company which is there, so they are going to raise the capital, so by issue of shares to the public. So this is called as public issue in simple. So under that it comes your initial public offer. So initial public offer is nothing but here also you are going to issue it to offer public. Okay, as a name suggests, it is a fresh issue of equity shares or convertible securities by unlisted companies. Okay, so who is going to issue it? Unlisted companies are going to issue that. Okay, so these securities are traded previously or offered for sale to the general public. So after the process of listing, the company's share is traded on stock exchange. The investors can buy and sell securities after listing in the secondary market. Okay, so this we call it as your initial public offering. Suppose, or we can say in simple words, what is this initial public offering? So be clear, when a company whose stock is not publicly traded wants of offer that stock to the public or general public, so it takes a form of initial public offering. Okay, so initial issues are initial issues are issue of shares for the first time, either after incorporation or conversion from public limited to into the public limited into public limited company. An issuer company makes an IPO of equity shares through book building mechanism or green shoe option. So these are some options. So we can easily understand this in the next upcoming topics. Okay, greens option, book building and all. So in simple, if you want to say, it means the first sale. Initial means first, offer means sale. The first sale of shares by the private company or a public or a initial issuer of shares for the first time. Okay, so this we call it as initial public offering. So then comes your further public company. Further public offer. Further public offer is nothing but when the listed company on the stock, when the listed company on the stock exchanges or a stock exchange announces the fresh issue of shares to the general public. The listed company does this to raise the additional fund. Okay, so the listed company does this to raise the additional fund. What they do is they are going to issue the shares. So in public issue or your initial public offer, what happens? The unlisted company is going to issue the shares. But here, when a listed company on the stock exchange announces the fresh issue of shares to the general public in order to raise the additional fund, so that becomes your further public offer or follow on offer, or your, in short, FPO. The next is your private placement. Private placement means that when the company offers its security to the small group of people. Okay, private placement. So these securities may be bonds, stocks, or other securities. The investors can be either individual or institutional or the both. Okay, so comparatively, private placements are more manageable to issue than a IPO. So, because there in IPO, huge number of people will be there, but here small group we say. The regulatory norms are significantly less. Also, it reduces the cost and time. The private placement is suitable for the companies that are at early stages, like your startups. Okay, so the company may raise capital to the investment bank or a hedge fund or an ultra high net worth individuals. Okay, so private placement under these steps or under this method, issue houses or the brokers purchases the securities directly from issuing company, and then these issue houses or brokers place with their own client and not to the public. Okay, so not to the public but to their own clients. So there are some steps here. So they are going to issue the securities. So like first step, the shares are purchased by whom? The issue houses or the brokers. Secondly, the shares are transferred to their investors clients at a higher price. Okay, so remuneration, so difference between the purchase price of the house or issue houses and whatever they are going to sell, so that will be the remuneration or the turn we call. The sale price is a turn or a remuneration to the brokers. So it is a very cheapest method or cheaper method. And so this is the simple procedure for issue of securities suitable for all small companies. Okay, then next is your preferential issue. So what is this preferential issue means? So we are going to give the preference, right? So preferential issue is one of the quickest method for the company for raising the capital for their business. So here both listed and unlisted company can issue shares. So usually these companies issue shares to the particular group of investors. So here also they are going to issue it to the particular group of investors. So it is important to note that preferential issue is neither a public issue nor a right issue. Okay, so it is a preferential allotment. So the preference shares or the preferential shareholders so receive the dividend before the ordinary shareholders are going to receive, right? So preferential shareholder is going to get the much importance compared to the real owners, or the what we say equity shareholders or the ordinary shareholders. The next is your qualified institutional placement. So what is this qualified institutional placement? So it is another type of private placement. Here a listed company issues securities or issues the equity shares or debentures which are partly or wholly convertible, or any other security not including the warrants. So these securities are convertible in nature. So qualified institutional buyer purchases these securities. Okay, so they are going to purchase these securities. So QIPs or qualified institutional placements are investors who have requisite financial knowledge and experts to what to the invest in the capital market. So some of your buyers or buyers of the qualified institutional placement is your alternative investment fund, foreign venture capital investors, mutual funds, public financial institution, so scheduled commercial banks, and the pension funds. So comparatively qualified institutional allotment is simpler, or simple we can say, so than the preferential allotment. Okay, so the reason is that they do not attract any standard regulations like submitting pre-issue filing with SEBI. So thus the process becomes much more comfortable and less time consuming. The next is your right issue. What is right issue? So right issue method, we say when the existing company desires to increase the share capital. So for this purpose, the issue of fresh shares to its existing shareholders is in proportion to the number of shares already held by them. That is called as right issue. Okay, so it is another type of issue in primary market. Here the company issues share to whom? Its existing shareholders. So they offer, by offering them to purchase more. So the company has to make an offer in the form of notice or a formal letter of information specifying the number of shares offered. Okay, the shareholders who are there, so they are given not notice for not less than 15 days from the date of offer to accept. So failing, if they fail, which the offer is deemed to be or to be been declined. Okay, so it means it is if the existing shareholders refuses the offer, then the company can issue those shares to the outsiders. So first issue or first right is given to the existing shareholders, and if they are going to deny it, or so if they decline it, so then it is given to the next. The next comes your bonus shares. What do you mean by bonus shares? So bonus shares or issue of bonus shares, nothing but, so under this method accumulated profits and reserves are converted into share capital of the company. So bonus shares are issued to fully paid shares. So shareholders receive bonus shares instead of receiving the bonus in the form of cash. So it is the only book entry in which the reserves are reduced and the share capital is increased. Okay, so when the company issues fully paid additional shares to its existing shareholders for free, that we call it as bonus shares. So the company issues shares for its free reserves or security premium account. So these shares are a gift for its current shareholders. So however, the issuance of bonus share does not require the fresh capital. It need not be the fresh capital. So the next question is, why do companies issue share to the public, right? Why do it issue? So companies come to the primary market to raise money for several reasons. So some of them are for business expansion, business development, and improving infrastructure, repaying its debts, and many more. Okay, so this helps the company to increase its liquidity. So also it provides a scope for more issuance of shares in raising further capital for business. So now company can raise the capital. So how it raises the capital? So like equity. When a company raises money by issuing the shares to the public, so it is termed as stock capital. So also known as share capital of the company. So next is the debt. So debt, the companies raises the capital by taking loans where interest is payable on it. Okay. So the next is how company shares its profit among the shareholders. Okay. When a company requires capital, the primary source of fund is loan from banks. However, raising funds from banks requires interest payment to them, right? Subsequently, when a company raises funds from the public, there is no commitments so to fixed interest payout. So also there is a profit sharing among the shareholders. So in proportion to the number of shares which are held by them. So here we can see there are two methods or the two way in which the shares or the company shares its profit among its shareholders. So one is your dividend payout and capital appreciation. So thus the company raises in the money raised the money raised in the capital primary market goes directly to the issuing company. So this is where the capital formation of the company takes place. Thank you.